Chazal say, "B'makom gedolim al tamoid." In a place of great people, you can't stand. But we mentioned last night in the Yeshiva Chachmei Lublin that the Rabbi Shapiro, when he spoke in the shul of the Maharshal, he said, "B'makom gedolim," where great people have stood, al tamoid. You can't remain standing. You have to forge ahead and continue going higher and higher. So we're standing here, the Beis HaKnesses of the Rama. I must say that I had a dream, not a chalaim, but of giving this drasha in the shul of the Rama. And I'm going to explain why. There's a very difficult episode in Parshas Vayishlach. It says, "Vayihi b'shkoin Yisrael ba'aretz hahi," when Yaakov Avinu was dwelling in that land. Vayelech Reuven, and Reuven came. Vayishkav es Bila pilegesh aviv. Literally, he lay with Bila, the concubine of his father. Vayishma Yisrael. Yaakov heard. There's a psik in the middle of the pasuk. There's an empty space in the middle of the pasuk. Vayiyu b'nei Yaakov shnei masar, and there were 12 sons of Yaakov. So the first question being, why is there an empty space in the middle of the pasuk? The Gemara tells us in Megillah that this pasuk, we read it, but we don't say the Targum. Why don't we say the Targum? The simple reading of the pasuk is Reuven actually went and violated the concubine of his father, and the Gemara says openly that's not what happened, but rather, according to Chazal, what happened was Yaakov Avinu's primary wife was Rachel. But now that Rachel died, Yaakov took his mita and he put it in the tent of Bilhah, because Bilhah was the assistant to Rachel. Reuven, feeling for his mother Leah's cause, took the bed of Yaakov, took it out of Bilhah's tent, put it in Leah's tent. Because Reuven was meddling, so to speak, in the private affairs of Yaakov Avinu, the Torah calls it Vayishkav es Bilhah, when in fact he was not Shachav in Bilhah, he rather took the bed and put it into the tent of his mother Leah. However, the Rama gave an entirely different explanation for this pasuk. So you say, what do you mean the Rama gave a different explanation? We don't have the Rama in Chumash. In what capacity did the Rama give a different explanation? Well, the Chida in the Sefer Maras Ha'ayin, in the Sefer Kisei Rachamim, in the Sefer Pnei David, and this is brought in the Chiddush HaGershuni, that we have a tradition. The Rama said the following interpretation of this pasuk, an extremely novel interpretation. Says the Heilige Rama, Vayihi b'shkoin Yisrael ba'aretz hahi. Yaakov was living in that land. Vayelech Reuven, and Reuven went. And that's all he did. All he did was he walked. Where did he walk? Outside the door of Yaakov. When? Vayishkav es Bilhah pilegesh. When he was going to lay with Bilhah the pilegesh. Who was going to lay with Bilhah? Aviv, his father. The Rama interpreted the pasuk that heaven forbid that Reuven would even dare tamper and touch the mita of Yaakov. All he did was outside the door of Yaakov, Vayelech. He made some pitter patter. When? Vayishkav es Bilhah. When he lay with Bilhah. Who lay with Bilhah? Aviv, his father. And the midah of tznius dictates that if there's noise and there's someone in the vicinity, even if they can't see, so Yaakov was Pirish that night. Now that night he was supposed to conceive Menashe and Ephraim. Menashe and Ephraim would have been born from Bilhah. But because Yaakov withdrew, because Vayishma Yisrael, Yaakov heard the noise. Therefore, the pasuk continues, Vayu b'nei Yaakov shnei masar. There were only 12 sons of Yaakov and not 14. So in other words, Reuven did not lay with Bilhah. Reuven did not touch the mita. One more time, Vayi b'shkoin Yisrael ba'aretz hahi, Vayelech Reuven. Reuven went. When did he go? Vayishkav es Bilhah pilegesh. When someone was going to be Shachav in Bilhah. Who was the someone? Aviv. When his father heard, Vayishma Yisrael. And therefore, Vayu b'nei Yaakov shnei masar, there are only 12 sons of Yaakov. When the Rama gave this drasha, Reuven came down from Shamayim and gave the Rama a kiss. Our tradition is when the Rama gave this drasha, Reuven came down and said, finally somebody understands what took place. Our tradition, it's brought in many Sfarim, is that Reuven came down to thank and to kiss the Rama for saying this explanation. The Ben Ish Chai writes in a tshuva, that's why there's an open space in this pasuk, to indicate, Vayelech Reuven, Reuven went, he was walking, Vayishma Yisrael, Yaakov heard, Vayiyu b'nei Yaakov shnei ma'asar. You know why there are only 12 sons of Yaakov? Because there's a hefsek. Because Reuven, all he did was he was mafsek his father. He just interrupted his father. That's why there's an interruption in the pasuk. So it's brought down in many Sfarim. That is why we don't say the Targum on this pasuk. Because the Targum of the pasuk is Ushchiv im Bila l'chei nasa da'avuhi. That Reuven was the one who lay with Bila. But we don't say the Targum. Because the Ramah's pshat is the correct pshat. So hopefully to say over this, the Torah of the Ramah, the one Chiddush that we have, a memorial that the Ramah said about this Pshat and Reuven, to say it over in this shul, what an honor, what a zechus it is. And hopefully min hashamayim, the Ramah is be machzik lanu toiva, and should shower us, the Rebbe should shower us b'zechus of the Ramah with the bracha v'hatzlacha. Shkayach.